I have some big decisions to make. It seems like everyone decided to release every single camera last week. We had the Canon C50 come out, and then we had the Nikon ZR, and then I think today DJI just put out a brand new camera, which I haven't even had time to look at. Just about everybody has been productive this week, except for Sony. And that really does pain me to say, because I have been a loyal Sony shooter for the last, I don't know, like 4 years. And I've had the same camera, the camera I'm shooting on right now, the Sony a7S III, or the photo version of the FX3, that whole time. And even, not too long ago, I was even considering getting an FX30 to go with my a7S III. But after this past week, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. So the camera I really want to focus on in today's video is the Nikon ZR. This little camera has really caught my and a lot of other Sony creators' collective gear acquiring syndromic eyes, I guess. Do I, as a Sony user, switch cameras? But before we get into anything, let's go over some specs. So the Nikon ZR has a 6K 24 megapixel full frame sensor. This sensor packs red code RAW in 6K up to 60 frames per second. And unfortunately, this isn't the usual 16-bit codec that we expect from Red, but just give it a second, just give it a second. It can shoot in 120 frames per second when you downscale to 4K. The camera also features a dual native ISO system. It can record 32-bit flow audio internally, and if video doesn't float your boat, it has a pretty nice switch where you can toggle between video and photo mode instantaneously. Now, something you might have noticed on there is there's no mention of OpenGate. I know OpenGate has become a very, very big selling point for a lot of creators in the past couple years, especially since Lumix has been jamming it in all of their latest releases. It's not currently confirmed whether OpenGate will be coming to this camera, but due to the fact that it has been shown that OpenGate can be added in firmware updates, in the case of the Sony Burano and the Canon C400, it's quite possible that it might be a later addition to this camera. Something else I wanted to revisit before I forget about it is that red code RAW. It's 12-bit. It's not the standard 16-bit that we usually expect from Red cameras. But that's because this camera is meant to be a very stripped down, a very streamlined, accessible prosumer entryway into the Red Nikon system, which I am totally fine with. I see some people complaining about it, but I mean, did I mention the camera is $2,200? Yeah, that's right. This thing costs just a couple $100 more than the FX30, which doesn't shoot internal RAW, which doesn't have 32-bit flow audio, and is a crop sensor. Now, I would be lying if I said there wasn't anything about this camera that didn't kind of rub me the wrong way. One being that Nikon claims it can record to 2 cards, and technically they're right, but one of those cards would be a micro SD. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Another thing that bothers me a little bit more is the fact that there are very few exposure tools on this camera. No false color, no stoplights that Red is very infamous for, so that's kind of weird. I mean, this is a Red camera, so where are the red stoplights? Those are some things that I don't love about this camera. But there are also things that you could add in firmware updates. Now, I don't want this to become like video games where Nikon releases a half-baked product and says, we'll fix it later, we'll just get something in your hand, you'll pay us now, and then maybe we'll get around to adding the full game later. We don't want to start that trend. But every time I kind of have a complaint about this camera, the price tag flashes in my mind. Not so great exposure tools. $2,200. 12-bit RAW that doesn't encapsulate the full color fidelity that Red is capable of. $2,200. It's a really cheap camera for what you're getting. I mean, guys, just think about this. Red cameras used to cost an arm and a leg, but now we get access to a streamlined version of that color science for a fraction of what it used to cost. By the way, did I mention this camera records ProRes internally and RAW internally? And whereas back in the day, Red cameras could weigh like 10, 20, 30 pounds in your hands, this thing weighs less than 5 pounds. So what does this mean for you and me, the Sony shooter who feels a little abandoned by Sony? You know, we've had all these terrific camera announcements lately, and Sony's just mum. Nothing has come out from Sony. We might be getting an A7 IV soon. So here's my plan. My plan is to have one hand in the Sony ecosystem, and then both my feet in the Nikon Red system. I mean, let's be honest here. Red cameras produce an image that no one else on the market, save for maybe Ari, can really contend with, at a price that no other company can contend with. And now, through the collaboration of both Nikon and Red, we have a camera that costs $1,000 less than the FX3, than the S1 Mark II, than just about every mainline cinema camera, I guess. So I'm going in on it. I think it is the perfect camera for my needs, and eventually, over the next couple months, I'm gonna be looking to buy a Red Komodo X, and this will be the perfect B camera to pair with it. Now, my current Sony setup is not going anywhere. I don't plan to sell any of it. In fact, I plan to adapt my ZR to E-mount. That way I can use all of my G Master lenses, maintain the autofocus quality, and even use my DZO Octopus E to PL mount on all of my non-Sony cameras going forward. But anyways, I think that's enough from me today. Now I'd like to hear from you. What are your plans, fellow Sony shooters? Or if you're not a Sony shooter, you know, maybe you're Canon or your Lumix or your, I don't know, what other brands are there, like Blackmagic or something? Are you guys considering jumping ship? Do you want a piece of the Red action for a fraction of the cost? Let me know down in the comment section down below, and I shall see you all in the next video. Peace. Oh, also, they told me to complain about the micro HDMI.